All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are taking a deep dive into Yggdrasil Chronicles.
Oh, this one is a fun one.
Yeah, it's a cooperative board game all about Norse mythology,
Yeah.
which is always a really cool theme, I think.
Yeah, always a popular one.
So in Yggdrasil Chronicles, you and your friends become Norse gods, and you're battling to save the world tree, Yggdrasil,
From total destruction.
from Ragnarok, the
Yeah.
end of the world.
The big one.
So pretty high stakes.
Definitely.
So maybe before we even jump into the gameplay, can you give us a little bit of a background on Yggdrasil itself? Why is this tree so important?
Yeah, so Yggdrasil, it's not just any tree. It's like the foundation of the cosmos in Norse mythology. So it connects 9 different worlds with its branches, with its roots, and if it falls, well, everything goes down with it.
Everything.
Yeah, including Midgard, the world of humans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a big deal.
So we're literally talking about saving the universe in this game.
Yeah, basically. No pressure.
So how do we do that? What are we actually doing to prevent this cosmic collapse? What's our mission?
So your goal is to guide this powerful dragon, Nidhogg.
Oh, Nidhogg.
Yeah, along a specific path, and it's outlined in this thing called the Sagas book.
Okay.
Think of it kind of like a prophecy of sorts. You need to manipulate events to make sure the prophecy unfolds in a way that saves Yggdrasil.
So Nidhogg, isn't he supposed to be like a bad guy? He's usually gnawing at the roots of the world tree.
Right, yeah. Traditionally, he's this big destructive force. But in this game, he's your last hope. It's a little different.
So how do we win? We have to get Nidhogg somewhere specific.
Yeah. So there's this tree icon at the end of the path in the Sagas book. And if you can maneuver Nidhogg to reach that tree icon, you win. You've successfully defended Yggdrasil.
Okay, so it sounds like a race against time. We've got this dragon we need to guide.
Uh-huh.
But we also have enemies we have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Here's some of the enemies.
So you've got some of Norse mythology's biggest hitters coming at you. We've got Surtr.
The fire giant.
Yeah! Hel, the goddess of the underworld. Fenrir, the wolf. Jormungandr.
The world serpent.
Loki. And then, of course, Nidhogg himself.
Yeah, because he's not always on our side, it sounds like.
Yeah, each of them has a unique way of attacking Yggdrasil and trying to bring about Ragnarok.
Okay, so we're guiding this dragon. We've got all these enemies breathing down our necks.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage.
So what does a typical game round even look like with all this going on?
So each round starts with everyone revealing an enemy card and adding it to this central wheel.
Okay.
And if 2 matching enemy cards show up, well, that's when things get really exciting. Because that enemy is activated, meaning they launch their attack on Yggdrasil.
Oh, no.
Yeah, some enemies climb the world tree, they're getting closer to victory, others drain your life force, and some wreak havoc in specific worlds.
So it's a constant, struggle to keep them at bay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so then what can I actually do on my turn to, fight back against all this?
So you have 3 main options. You can move to a different world on Yggdrasil. You can fight an enemy if you're on the same world as them. Or you can perform a unique action based on your location.
Okay, let's break those down a little bit.
Sure.
So first, movement.
Okay.
Can I just, zip around Yggdrasil however I want, teleport around?
Not quite. So the world tree is your game board, and your movement is restricted by its branches and its roots. So you can only move to adjacent worlds or directly above or below you.
So no shortcuts?
No shortcuts.
What about fighting? Is there, dice rolling, card play?
So fighting's streamlined, but with the twist. If you are in the same world as an enemy, you can choose to fight them and you automatically win.
Oh, okay.
No dice rolls, no nothing.
Okay. There's always a but.
There is. So each enemy has a strength, and it determines how many risks you take when fighting them.
So even winning a fight can be dangerous.
Exactly.
What are these risks exactly?
So you'll need to roll dice and manage your resources to overcome the risks.
Yeah.
Or you suffer damage in the form of lost life points.
Got it. So strategy is involved.
Always.
And last but not least, performing actions.
Right.
What kind of things can I do?
So each world on Yggdrasil has a unique action. You might recruit allies, gather artifacts, or even heal Yggdrasil itself.
Okay.
But just like fighting, some actions also have risks that you need to think about. For example, recruiting allies might require you to make a tough choice or sacrifice something.
Okay.
You might need to spend resources or roll some dice.
So every choice we make has consequences.
Yeah. Pretty much sums it up.
So it's a lot more than just moving around and fighting. There's a lot of strategy involved.
Definitely. And don't forget, you're doing all this as a Norse god.
Oh, right.
each of which has their own unique abilities.
Okay, so that adds another layer of strategy to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about these gods. What kind of powers are we talking about here?
Well, let's take Freyr, for example. He's the god of prosperity,
Okay.
and he starts the game with a handful of these elf pawns.
Elves.
Yeah, representing his connection to these mystical beings.
Okay, so he's got some extra help right off the bat.
Right.
What do these elves do?
So elves are a valuable resource. You can use them to influence dice rolls when you're trying to overcome those risks we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like having a little bit of extra luck on your side.
So Freyr started with an advantage. Does his, divine power also tie into this prosperity theme?
It does, yeah. So Freyr's divine power allows him to sacrifice elves to prevent risks, even after a dice roll.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a last-ditch effort to avert disaster.
Okay, so he's kind of a clutch player then.
Yeah, he can be.
What about, Thor? What kind of divine power does the god of thunder have?
So Thor is all about raw power.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any starting advantages like Freyr, but his divine power is a game changer. Every success he rolls on his god die cancels out 2 risks instead of just 1.
Wow. So he's like a risk mitigation machine.
Pretty much.
So he's the guy you want if you want to just go head-to-head with the enemy.
He's a good choice for that, yeah. But remember, this is a cooperative game.
Oh, right.
You need to work together.
Use everybody's strengths.
Exactly.
You mentioned something about these gods forming relationships with each other. What's that all about?
Yeah, so as the game goes on, you can forge bonds between the gods,
Huh?
and they represent those complex relationships you see in Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And these bonds, they can grant special bonuses, allow gods to help each other out.
Okay, give me an example.
Yeah, so Freyr and Thor,
Okay.
they could form a brothers-in-arms bond.
Okay.
And that allows Thor to lend his strength to Freyr during dice rolls.
Oh, that's cool.
Or Freyr could have a chance fellow relationship with Freyja,
Okay.
and then he can benefit from her successes.
So you're really building a team.
Exactly, a pantheon. And that's where the real depth of the game comes in, I think.
It's more than just individual gods.
Right, figuring out which gods to pair up, what bonds to forge, how to best use their powers together.
It sounds like you're not just playing a board game. You're weaving this tapestry of Norse mythology.
Yeah, and we're just scratching the surface here.
Okay.
There are different game modes. A campaign mode?
Oh, wow.
Your choices carry over between games?
So it becomes a really long, epic story.
Yeah, a true saga. But, before we get too ahead of ourselves,
Yeah, let's not spoil everything.
I think we need to talk about those enemies in more detail.
Right. Because we know they're trying to bring about Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But how do they actually go about doing that?
Well, each enemy has a unique way of attacking Yggdrasil. Like Surtr, he ascends the world tree, and if he reaches the top, that's game over.
Oh, wow.
Then you've got Hel, who just drains your life force directly.
So it's not just about brute force, then. Some enemies are more subtle.
Exactly. Like Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Right.
He circles Midgard, and he slowly submerges these islands. So he's indirectly helping Hel by sending all those souls to her realm.
Wow. So he's like a constant threat that you can't ignore.
Yeah, a ticking clock.
What about Fenrir?
So Fenrir, he starts the game chained up.
Okay.
But once he's released, he descends on Asgard, the realm of the gods.
Oh, yes.
And he grows stronger each time a world is devastated.
Oh, wow. So we really need to protect those worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
What about Loki? He always seems to be stirring up trouble.
Yeah, so Loki, he doesn't attack directly.
Okay.
He summons frost giants.
Oh, those don't sound good.
Yeah, they have all sorts of nasty effects that can disrupt your plans.
So he's messing with us from the shadows.
That's Loki,
And of course, we have to talk about Nidhogg again.
right? The dragon we're trying to guide to safety.
So how does he move?
Each time he's activated, he takes one step forward on that path in the Saga's book.
Okay.
So we need to be very careful about when and how he's activated.
Yeah, we want to go in the wrong way.
Exactly. You need to anticipate, plan for consequences.
Make sure he reaches the tree icon.
Yes,
So it's a delicate balancing act then.
it is. Managing these enemies, manipulating events to guide Nidhogg.
It sounds like a lot of fun, but also very challenging.
It is, but that's what makes the game so compelling.
You really feel like you're in the middle of this epic struggle.
Definitely.
So we have these enemies, but we also have the powers of the gods at our disposal.
Right.
It sounds like Yggdrasil Chronicles strikes a good balance between challenge and player agency.
Absolutely. You're not just reacting to what the enemies do, you're shaping the course of events, making choices that determine the fate of, well, everything.
It's like you're participating in the myths themselves,
Yeah, exactly.
writing your own chapter in this saga of Ragnarok.
It really is.
Yeah, it's like we are stepping into the myths ourselves. It's awesome. But we're so many moving parts, so many enemies and gods with their own powers. Like, where do you even begin to strategize in a game like this?
Well, the cool thing about Yggdrasil Chronicles is that there are multiple paths to victory.
Oh,
You could focus on, like, aggressive tactics,
yeah.
confronting those enemies head on, just like Thor would.
So, like, Thor's the guy you pick if you just want to smash your way to victory.
He's definitely a good choice for that approach, but you could also opt for something more strategic, more indirect.
Okay.
Odin, for example.
The All-Father.
Yeah, he embodies knowledge and planning, and his ability actually lets him move to Asgard from anywhere on Yggdrasil.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
That's a huge advantage.
Oh, yeah, it gives him incredible flexibility.
So he's the god you want if you want to, like, control the battlefield.
Yeah, he is definitely a control player.
What if you're not into brute force or, like, cunning tactics?
Mhm.
Are there options for players who prefer to play a more supportive role?
Absolutely.
Uh.
Frigg, Odin's wife, she's all about wisdom, and she has a deep understanding of fate.
Okay, so she's like the wise, supportive one.
Yeah, and her ability, she can manipulate Vanir dice.
We haven't really talked about how those work.
Yeah, we should probably explain that.
Yeah.
So Vanir dice, they represent, the unpredictable nature of fate. They
Yeah.
have these different symbols. Some are good, some are bad.
Fine.
And when you're trying to overcome a risk, you roll these dice along with your god die.
Okay.
And the combination of results determines whether you succeed or fail.
So Frigg's ability lets her kind of like nudge fate in a more favorable direction.
Exactly.
So she's messing with probability.
Yeah, and her divine power, it goes even further with that.
So-
So once per turn, she can actually heal herself or another god.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So she's like a healer.
Yeah. She's really good at keeping everyone in the game.
That's really cool. It's like each god's abilities are like a reflection of their personality from the myths.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool.
We talked about Thor, Odin, and Frigg, but there are other gods too.
Oh, yeah, we've got a bunch more.
What about like Heimdall, the watchman of the gods?
Heimdall, he's all about vigilance and swift action. His ability's similar to Frigg's, actually,
Right.
but even more potent.
No.
He can turn even more Vanir die results into successes.
Wow.
He's really good at mitigating those risks.
So he's like the ultimate protector then.
Yeah, standing guard against the forces of chaos. And his divine power, it really reflects that.
Okay.
So Heimdall can actually move to Midgard from anywhere on Yggdrasil.
Oh, wow.
So he can ignore the normal movement restrictions.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's like a divine shortcut right to the front lines.
Always ready to defend Midgard.
Yeah.
So we have Thor, who's aggressive, Odin, who's strategic, Frigg and Heimdall, who are supportive. It feels like there's a god for every playstyle.
Yeah, definitely. And we haven't even mentioned Tyr or Freyja yet.
Who are they?
Tyr is the brave god of war. He can face Fenrir without any fear. And Freyja is the goddess of love and war. And she's all about relationships. She uses her connections with the other gods to her advantage.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, but in a good way.
I know, right?
Like so many choices, so many possibilities. But it all comes back to working together.
Yeah, definitely.
Using each god's strengths to overcome those challenges and, get Nidhogg to where he needs to go.
That's the heart of Yggdrasil Chronicles. It's about cooperation, strategy, and just immersing yourself in this world of myth and legend.
And the fate of the cosmos is in our hands.
Exactly. It's a challenge worthy of the gods. But even when facing Ragnarok, hope's not lost.
Oh, that's good.
The choices you make, the allies you forge, the battles you win, they all shape the destiny of everything. Yggdrasil and all 9 realms.
It's a powerful message. Like even in the darkest of times, we have the power to choose our fate. So listener, if you were to step into this world, what god would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Would you be the defender, the strategist, the healer, or something else entirely?
I don't know. It's a tough choice.
The choice is yours. But one thing's for sure, the fate of Yggdrasil awaits.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it is really cool how they've woven the personalities of the gods into their abilities in the game.
Yeah, it's really well done.
So we've talked about Thor, Odin, Frigg, and Heimdall, but I know there are more gods, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, what about Tyr?
Oh, Tyr.
Yeah.
He's the god of war, and
Isn't he the one who loses a hand to Fenrir?
yeah, that's him. He's known for his courage.
So how does that play into his ability in the game?
Well, Tyr is the only one who can face Fenrir without, fear of consequences.
Oh, wow. So he's like the Fenrir specialist.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's really cool. What about Freyja? You mentioned her earlier.
Yeah, she's the goddess of love and war. Kind of an interesting combination.
Right. Love and war.
Yeah, but in Norse mythology, it works. And she's really good at forming those bonds with other gods,
Yeah.
leveraging her relationships.
Okay. So she's a real team player then.
Yeah, very much so.
It's amazing how much depth there is to this game.
I know, right? And we've only scratched the surface.
It really makes you want to dive in and explore all the different possibilities,
Yeah, definitely. Like, what kind of team would you build?
Right. What strategy would you use?
It's really exciting to think about.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Yggdrasil Chronicles today, I think it's safe to say this is more than just a game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's an experience.
It's a story.
It's a chance to step into the world of Norse mythology and face the ultimate challenge,
The end of the world.
Ragnarok. But what I find really inspiring is that even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the game emphasizes hope and the power of choice.
Right.
We're not just passive observers here. We are active participants, shaping the fate of the world with every decision we make.
I think that's a really powerful message.
And with so many different paths to victory, so many gods to choose from, so many bonds to forge, the possibilities are endless. So, to our listeners out there, we leave you with this question. If you were to join this epic struggle, what role would you play in shaping the destiny of Yggdrasil?
What kind of god would you be?
Think about it and let us know. Until next time, may your journeys be filled with adventure, and may your dice rolls always be in your favor.
Farewell.